Also, Con McGarry of Green Tomatoes in London that have a 600 car fleet, also private hire. Have Nick Golding from Pud Pass Travel in Northwich. Nick, thank you very much. Who's got a 50 car mixed fleet, and Ian Pole of DG Cars in Nottingham. In fact, it's from the last moment to help us out. I don't know the size of your fleet, I'm afraid. I just got this thing at the last minute. But just briefly, we've got Craig, who's got the iCabby system. We've got Con, who uses the Magenta system. We've got Nick, who uses the Cabby system. And we've got Ian, who uses the AutoCAD system. Okay, so no further introduction needed. But as Craig, whose name appears at the top of this, gives you a few words. You have a judge. Now use this microphone. Okay, this is Craig from Harvard.
Today, because you know you have to.
Just. If you speak in there, everyone will hear you. Just an intro.
Alright, yeah, so a little intro about us, obviously. We're in Leeds. We've got a fleet of about 100 cars. We're running with iCabby system.
Can you hear me?
So I feel really important to be here today. Right, so yeah, we run at about 100 cars. We're running with iCabby system. Since we've gone over to them, obviously market's changed, so obviously we realised that we needed to change. Obviously where we could change and where we were letting ourselves down, which to be honest in this industry a lot of companies aren't doing, you know, let's be absolutely realistic. People are kind of like going backwards because they're not addressing actually where they're losing. Yeah, a bit of that with regards to we run our automation levels about 70% in a day. In the morning, before 9 o'clock, probably fly through 3 coffees. I'm not bored in the office now, just me and everybody comes in after 9. It's just, to us, automation's played a very, very big key in our company. You know, it's, if I'd wanted a room of 6 tele-ops and paying 6 wages and dealing with 6 different personalities and 6 different times throughout the day saying, you know, why are you doing that? This is not how you're instructed to do that. And we just, you know, we invested a lot in technology and we do a lot of promotion work in technology. You know, technology is key. Technology, you know, you all go on about Uber, you know, technology is playing that biggest part in that. Technology and then finances. And, you know, you put them together, you've got synergy. You've got something, so, you know, if you're up on your tech, I mean, look, if we go 4-5 years ago, our company, we had 23 cars. We're above 100. And when we joined iCabby, I think we had 45. Now we're above 100 in 17 or 18 months. And yeah, you know, my gain was someone's loss. That's business. You know, that's we've gained because we look into it. Do you know what I mean? We've just had some people, we've just done a lot of work with our database. So we built a successful, well, I'll say my wife, we built a clothing range off of the back of our company. Because I've got 563 individual entries of customers. Now, we've absolutely, one by one, stripped them down. It's taken us about 13 months now, and we just, I think I've got about 3,000 left. We put them into demographics of male, female, age group, and you see, like when I started doing it, everybody was like looking at me going, mate, you're stupid, you know, why are you wasting your time? But we built a successful clothing range off the back of that because I've got females and their age range, and I know that, right, okay, these people in this area will be buying, for example, these kind of Spanish dresses. And this is where the data is the key. You know, a lot of companies in this day and age, they've got a system and they're just picking up the phone and they're saying, where are you? Where are you going? He's coming now. And you know, like Dr. Cooper said, Uber's there now. You know, they're offering you ice cream and kittens. That's a new one. That's a new one. But you know, this industry is changing. It's changed. Yeah, you know, it's changed past tense, and it's how it was, it's not going to come back. So obviously it's kind of like assessing where you want to be in this industry, which part of it do you want to be at? Do you want to be offering your account customers, which we're not really up on that, we are gonna switch this year into more about that. Like I said, we know that we want to be in tech. Nobody in our area locally can compete with technology and stuff like that with us.
Okay, so data is the key.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Haravi? No, we all showing?
No?
Okay, right, can I now, thank you very much. Can I now invite up Con McGarry of Green Tomatoes in London. Green Tomatoes run a magenta system and have over 600 vehicles.
Good afternoon, my name is Con McGarry. I'm head of performance for Green Tomato Cars. And ordered on the plug-in for me, we use magenta. I'm going to run through very briefly like a quick canter through our history, how we've got to where we're at, and what the future's looking like, including a slant on technologies and the app. So, Green Tomato Cars started life about 11 years ago, long before Uber was even thought of, by a couple of law grads who wanted to introduce a car company, taxi private hire company into London that was ethically responsible, but also had high customer service standards. Now, the ethical responsibility was something that was not at all considered in London back in those days, certainly. And they started off, they scratched together enough capital to get 4 cars together. One of the guys was a driver, the other guy did all of the controlling and everything else pretty much for the whole business. And pretty much through positive word of mouth, they were able to quickly expand. They went from 4 cars to 10 cars, 20 cars, 50 cars. And it was round about that time that a very influential gentleman got in the back of one of our cars. And he liked what he saw, and he asked the boys if they would provide service for his London interests. Now, this guy was called Rupert Murdoch, and as you can imagine, even back in those days, his interests in London were pretty significant. So, the boys said yes, and fast forward 11 years, and we've got a fleet of over 600 cars, including our owner drivers, and I'll just mention them a little bit more later on. And we range from, see on the bottom here, we've got a hydrogen vehicle. We range from zero emission vehicles all the way up to executive class and people carriers. And there's our FD, he won't thank me for putting that on there. So I don't know how much, because it's well before my time, I don't know how much Rupert Murdoch getting in the back of one of our cars influenced the way that the business developed, but I imagine quite a bit, because we now operate predominantly in the account-based market, so about 80% of our trips are accounts, and we do nearly 500,000 trips a year. As such, we've got some clients that have certain expectations, and while we don't offer specialist services per se, there are certain expectations from our clients, and it's part of the ethos of the company that our drivers and we act in a certain way towards them in a give them very high customer service. So the way that the driver is dressed and the way they present themselves to the client and the way they present their car to the client, we all know that that's happy, satisfied, comfortable customer is one of your best advocates. So from the way that the driver dresses, to the little things like pushing the the passenger side seat forward, to helping with luggage, that's all part of what we do, but it's not an expectation, it's just part of the company ethos. Now the drivers, of course, they're out on the front line. They're supported by an operations team, which at the engine room of the company, I'm going to say that because I'm not Sky, but we look after the end-to-end fulfillment of a booking from start to finish, from it coming into our system to us dropping off the passenger. Now, the advances in app technology, particularly in the last 2 years, and just technology in general, it allows us to move with the time. So the fact that we can see like there's congestion on the A406 and we can find an optimum route to get around that and deliver the customer to where they need to be without any disruption to their life, is invaluable. And we can see all that right in front of us due to the platform that we use, which is developed by Magenta. Desk 52 out there, you can see them, really nice guys. And it takes a lot of the stress out of the allocation. As my colleague was mentioning before, my peer was mentioning before, we rely a lot on auto allocation, so we can actually deal with the day-to-day demands of running a taxi service, particularly in London. Anything. I'm not from the industry. I only came in the industry last year, and I didn't realise just how much can affect what it is we do. So in London particularly, a tube strike, we're massively impacted. There's any sort of event where the roads are closed, we're massively impacted. You know, there's a general election, massive impact. Brexit, impact. Raining, impact. Sunny, impact. A guy walked down the street and slipped on a banana peel, I think it's going to impact us. But the fact that we can respond to these in real time is invaluable. But not only that, as James was saying before, the fact that we can be more proactive and predictive is essential in today's market. The ability to monitor past events to predict the future is you can't put a price on that, although we do. And to understand what's changing and why it's changing and ask those questions is something that it helps us run our business. We cannot work without it. So it not only changes the way that we run our business, it changes the way that we build our business. So we have to have a different skill mix now. Like data analytics means we have to get in data scientists. We have to be able to analyse and crunch those numbers. And also one of the reasons I think I was asked to join Green Smile Cars was we need somebody to actually interpret that and to put it into tangible outputs. Now, I'm not mentioning the app technology so much, but we do have an app, but I don't think I could put it any better than James, in that we have an app, it's not a solution. We also run 24/7, 365, London-based call centre and logistics team. And I think in today's market, you cannot survive with just having one or the other. You have to have both, and they have to work hand in hand and be very, very intertwined, because having a really good product in the hands of your customer, but no customer service, you're going to fail. But having really good customer service, but not able to put that in the hands of your clients and customers, again, I think you're going to fail. And I really believe that. So I think it needs to be for us and the industry in general, it's working with those two things together as closely as possible. So thank you. A quick canter through.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Con. We have HTM opportunity for, well, how would you, in three words?
3 words.
You can extend to 4.
What's the question?
Your sort of your ethos, why Green Tomato has grown from A to B.
Well, I think it's the combination of technology and customer service is key.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. McGarry? No, I think we're all still bashful. Okay, up on stage now we have Nick Golding, who is from Club Class Travel in Northwich, and as I said before, Nick has a 50-car mixed fleet. Can you use that one, Nick? Okay, fine.
Is this working?
Yes, it is, I can hear you. And he uses a cab system. Okay. Over to you, Nick.
Hi, you see all the glum faces down there? I was thinking back, as I was trying to decide what on earth to say to you all that was going to inspire you, to what got me into taxis in the first place. And back in about 94, I think it was, I was working for a business organisation, nothing to do with taxis, except it had a number of taxi companies that were members. And I was down in Southwark, going under the railway arches to renew one of our members' annual subscriptions. And I went into this dodgy looking unit under the arches, up the stairs, into this dingy little office, and it was absolutely covered in £20 notes. The whole of the desk heaving with them. And I went away from that thinking to myself, that's really a business that I need to get into. Now what he said to me, of course, is, I haven't got all this money, I've got to pay it all out. I didn't believe a word of what he was saying, but I just had those 20 quid notes in my head. Anyway, scroll forward to sometime later, about 2008, and I was looking for a business opportunity. And I put my mind back to those taxis, and I thought, one, all those £20 notes. The other thing is, out in rural mid-Cheshire, you can't get a taxi unless you book 3 weeks in advance, and it's a full moon, and you're lucky. Then you might get a taxi. And so I thought, clearly, there's a bit of a gap in the market here. So, started with one car, spent 2 or 3 years, having decided that my USP was going to be that we delivered a taxi when you wanted it, sleeping on a camp bed, by the desk, getting up when they rang, going and doing the job, coming back, going to sleep on the camp bed, saw my family occasionally. We managed to get it up to about a dozen cars in 2 or 3 years, and then since then we've been growing pretty steadily, so we're now on 50 plus. And I don't go out and I don't sleep on a camp bed anymore, but I do go out if we're struggling. Now, when I was listening to the previous 2 speakers, what I was thinking is, it just says to me that your local market is what really counts, because how different it is in Northwich, in mid-Cheshire, than it is in London. We don't have existing markets lined up there. The existing companies, such as they were, did school runs. You want to get a taxi at 8:30 in the morning? No chance, right? But I wanted to change that. But first I had to get the message across to all the people in the local area. And they won't believe that you can get a taxi at 8:30 in the morning, because all their experience for the previous 25 years has been, I can't get a taxi at 8:30 in the morning. And any amount of telling them you can get a taxi at 8:30 in the morning isn't going to convince them until that random time that they happen to get in touch with you and you actually deliver them a taxi at 8:30 in the morning. So I haven't been able to grow at the same pace as some of these here, because I've had to organically grow the market in my area. And all my competitors who hate me because I was there, they hate me for the wrong reasons, because what I've done for them is I've grown the whole market. And actually, I welcome them, because the more jobs they do, the more people get taxis, they'll do a useless job, so then they'll come across to me. And my strapline for all this being, I couldn't afford to be the best of everything by comparison to some company in London, but I had the strapline, if you excuse the expression, what I went on is less shit than the others. And as long as I was producing a better service than the other people were, and I was turning up on time in the old Mondeo, door hanging off the back, but I got there on time, and I got them to the school on time. Most of my customers are not business owners. A lot of them are on benefits. A lot of them are old people. They're a completely different market than you've heard there. They don't really care as long as you turn up and you do them. We have a peak time at about 11:55 on Sunday night. Why? Because the benefits go in just after midnight. They want to get down to Tesco's. Sorry, it's Tuesday morning, I say Monday night, Tuesday morning. They want to get down to Tesco's so they can buy the alcohol, buy the cigarettes, fuck the children, they're not getting any food, and they're spending all the money on my taxis.
Language sympathy.
I apologise. Because they can't wait to get their alcohol, or their cigarettes, or whatever it might be. But what all this gives me is cars driving around. My top tip is, have the signage on the cars, don't accept anything from the drivers like they don't want your sign, or it's their expensive Mercedes hasn't got magnetic sign. Just stick the bloody thing on the side of your car, because that's the way to get jobs in. They can really see that you're there. It's proof. I can be on a website, I can look fantastic. That doesn't prove I can do the job. Even though I've been being able to provide an on-demand service for, being realistic, about 4 or 5 years now, I still regularly run into people. I picked someone up in my taxi 2 days ago, who's lived in the area since she was a girl. Didn't know it existed. She booked with another company. They let her down at the last minute as she was trying to get the train up to London. Rang us, which she got just purely by needle in a haystack. She happened to get us on the website, because there's no way I can distinguish myself from the others on that website. But she just by chance happened to ring us, and immediately, boom, we're around there. Actually, I didn't have a driver available, so I threw my breakfast to one side, jumped in the car to deliver that journey. Because when a customer wants a taxi, I aim to deliver it. So by delivering it when they want it, they come back, and one by one they learn that I exist, and they know that they can get a taxi. And as I said, all those other taxi companies, I help them by growing the market, but they help me by being there and advertising. So, if you're outside London, outside Manchester and these places, One, I can't see Uber doing that anytime soon, to be brutally frank, because I know how much it costs to go into another market. Now, I've tried to go into other little local towns, and I've had some little success, but it takes a lot of perseverance, and people don't necessarily want to do that. So I've got a bit of coverage, because they can't muscle in on me, very difficult for them to muscle in on me, and I have a constraint though, I cannot grow astronomically fast, because I have to grow those customer base one by one. Well, having said that, I have grown for 30% compound for the last 3 years in job numbers. So when I was doing 1,900 jobs just over 2 years ago, now I do 3,600 jobs a week. And so my drivers, 2 or 3 years ago, because I always take on a driver. Driver wants to come and drive for me, you can drive. The other drivers, what are you doing taking on another driver for? It's taking money out of my... So what I try to get across to them, if I've got more drivers, I can serve more jobs. If I serve more jobs, I've got more customers. If I've got more customers, you make more money. They finally sort of got it, because they don't whinge when I send them to Winsford, they don't whinge when I send them to Middlewich, they don't whinge when I ring them at the middle of the night and say, you've got to get back out here, because they know they're making money. And although they might tell me that they're impoverished, I've got 7 of them in the last 9 months have bought brand new Mercedes off their own bat. So, don't tell the Inland Revenue, or whatever they're called now, but they are not starving in their garrets. And so you can get there in a rural area that's never had a proper taxi service before by working hard to deliver what the customers there need and by sticking to it.
Okay, at that point, Nick, I think Nick's has resonated with the audience. And can I wind this up?
Can I just say one last point?
Yes.
Because that's why I'm here. And I couldn't afford these booking dispatch systems. I actually bought another taxi company. They had Mercury. I wanted to go where I could see the cabs, and they were going to charge me, I forget what it was. It was something like £20,000 at the time to get all that kit. I said, forget that. I bumped into someone who was writing a software for a what do you call them? People who take packages around. Courier company. He adapted it for me, and actually that now works, does everything that all the other ones will do, but it's only costing $2.99 a week, and you can go up and down in your drivers. So if you want to have no lock-in, and a system that will do the same thing as everyone else, pretty well, with local recovery of your system. So if the internet goes down, you've still got all the stuff there, come and see me on the Caddy stand, just around the corner there, and I can tell you all about it. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Nick. So, there's different aspects. Okay, we have finally, I've got 3 microphones in front of me, I hope one's working. We have finally Ian Pole from DG Cars in Nottingham, who use the autocab system. You can have a choice of anything you want.
Yeah. Thanks very much indeed. A bit difficult to follow that one, isn't it? It's really good. I think listening to the 3 people before me, it just goes to prove that no matter what area you're in, there is a geographical difference throughout the country of supply and demand. But at the end of the day, what we have to supply is a good customer service. So if you're in a little village or you're in a big town, customer orders the car, they want that car there when they've ordered it, no matter where they are. And that's the object of our business throughout the UK, even throughout the world. At DG, we've got now in the region of about 700 vehicles, which we have self-grown over a period of 12 to 15 years. We started off on the Aqua Trapeze dispatching system, but a decision was made some years ago to join AutoCab. We looked at all the pros and cons. Everybody's got a different idea on how it works. And I think it's fair to say that most of the dispatching systems that we have nowadays are very similar and do a good job. What we feel that you have to look for is the service after. Can the company provide you with the little tweaks that you want after? There might be some little tweaks that you want, I don't want, and that's what it's all about. So when you're considering the system, you have to look at capability. What we can say with AutoCab is that they have been very progressive. I don't want to use this as an advertising tool, but they have been very progressive. Even so now that they have now produced a national app. I think it's very similar to a lot of the apps that are going round, but what it's actually done, it's actually keeping all your AutoCab customers together throughout the UK. So if you have a customer down in Lewisham that's coming to Nottingham, they can go on the Lewisham app and order a cab in Nottingham. Likewise, if I've got a customer in Nottingham going down to Lewisham, they can use my app and still get an AutoCab customer. So the development there is very, very good. And it also keeps a tighter rein on your account customers as well, because they can use them. So all in all, it's all about the customer service. It's all about being on time and getting your customers happy. Opening the boot with the shopping, with the cases and everything like that. And this is how we've progressed. And also look at the other little things that you can, offer the drivers. Have you looked at insurance premiums? Can you make insurance a little bit cheaper to bring the driver in? Your maintenance, have you got a good maintenance system? Can you advise a good maintenance system? It's all things that you might be involved in or you don't want to get involved in, but the bigger picture is you've got to give that alternative to bring that driver to you. You've got to dangle the carrot a little bit and say, look, we can offer you this or we can give you this. I'm not saying give it away, but what I'm saying is if you do make it easier for a driver, then you can get that driver to you, and again, you've got your weekly board. So dispatch systems is a must, apps is a definite must, if you're in the right geographical locations. In Nottingham, we've got 2 universities there, something in the region of about 70,000 students, and we all know what students are like with apps. So for us, the app is a dead cert. We've got to have it there. You might, in cities where you're from, you might not think they're as important, but they will be important. And just very quickly, just touching on it, electric vehicles. In Nottingham, the council there are going very strongly for it. By 2020, they want 40% of the Hackney carriages to be fully electrical. Now that doesn't, 3 years, but planning for 3 years to spend in the region of £50,000 on one vehicle is a lot of money. But electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles are coming. So again, forward planning and make sure that you've got the right tools there to cope with it. But thank you very much.
It's almost as if you've introduced me to our next series of seminars.
No,
Thank you so much. Right, ladies and gentlemen.